Sotheby's senior vice president, Kevin Brown, and Sotheby's is a real estate company. Well, Kevin Brown states that he recently, 2 years ago, sold an apartment in Manhattan for $6.5 million. Now, that's not far-fetched. Of course, apartments in New York are extremely expensive, but the person who purchased the apartment was a Chinese woman. She is unidentified. We don't know exactly who she is, but she was purchasing this $6.5 million apartment for her 2-year-old daughter.
Oh, okay, you said daughter. So I was going to say, my wife's Chinese. I got a 2-year-old. Do we have a $6.5 million apartment in New York? No, we do not. Now, of course, you have to understand something. When you're really wealthy, your 2-year-old needs to be able to stretch out in a nice apartment in New York City.
Totally.
Okay, now why? Why did she do that?
Now, Kevin Brown explains in detail. He says, well, her daughter was going to go to Columbia or NYU or maybe Harvard, and so she needed to be in the center of the city, and that was why she was picking this one particular apartment. So I said, oh, how old is your daughter? And she said, well, she's 2, and I was just shocked.
I love that she knows with specificity that it's going to be Columbia or NYU, and hence she needs to get her 2-year-old daughter an apartment there. But then I got bad news for her. Harvard would be a hell of a commute. That's up in Boston. That's going to take you about 5 hours.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating that she went with that, but I think that it was definitely more of a real estate investment than anything else, because she did purchase that apartment 2 years ago, and the price did increase significantly. As I mentioned, she paid $6.5 million for it. However, it now costs $8.9 million.
Whoa.
So in essence, she just made more than enough money on her investment to pay for her daughter's education.
For undergraduate, for a graduate, for a PhD, she can keep going and going. Look, one of the reasons they might have said the daughter, honestly, is that in China, there's been some laws passed recently where they say you can only own one property. But now, I don't think that it would apply here, obviously because it's in the US, it's not in China, and those laws were recent and she bought it 2 years ago. But I bring that up because I'm not sure if there was some other tricky-dicky position for tax reasons, etc., to say that she bought it for her daughter, because otherwise it's just way too absurd.
Now, there have been some accusations. As I mentioned, we don't know who this woman is, but a lot of people are speculating and thinking that maybe she is related to some corrupt politician in China, which is why she has this kind of money at her disposal.
Right. And I like the smugness that she assumes that her 2-year-old is going to get into an Ivy League school or NYU.
So let's talk about that for a second, right? So let's think of the hypothetical where she's not related to some corrupt politician and she doesn't know people who can pull strings, right? And she's just a mother who assumes that her daughter is going to get into one of these schools. Think about the amount of pressure that puts on her daughter. Because if you don't,
she was going to get that pressure anyway.
She was going to get that pressure anyway, but what I want to say is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because
so that's a really interesting conversation because we have a friend, one of the guys we play basketball with actually, his son is an absolute genius. Like, you think, oh yeah, it's easy to throw that words around. His IQ is 240. 240 is off the freaking chart, man. He was reading newspapers at the age of 3.
Jeez.
Okay, so he went to one of the probably about top 20 private schools in the country. One of them is here in LA, and that's the one he went to. And he got a perfect SAT score, but he was a little bored by the classes, so he slacked off, and his GPA was only 3.9. Okay, but they literally say it like that. It was only 3.9. Okay, he did not get into any of the Ivies.
What?
He didn't get into Stanford. Didn't get into UCLA. Didn't get into Carnegie Mellon, didn't get into Tufts. Okay, so you're telling me you're assuming your kid is going to get into an Ivy League school? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay, and then second of all, that leads into the conversation of, do I want my 2-year-old, etc., do I want him to go to those schools? I do. Do I want him doing what apparently is necessary, getting better than perfect scores to get there? I'm not so sure about that, man. I want them to have a childhood. So like, I want to put good expectations on them, but at the same time, if you're going to try to compete with these people who all have perfect SAT scores and, I mean, GPAs through the roof, etc., you're going to put so much pressure on the kid that he might break. And you got to have him and her enjoy their lives a little bit too when they're kids.